We're back. When I said we were going away there, I said, we're going to take a look at this clip, and you said, good, I've never seen it, and I thought you were kidding, meaning you've never seen the film. Do you go to any of your films?
I went to Ryan's Daughter.
Yeah.
That's the last one I can recall seeing. I ran one at the house, about a week ago, a couple of weeks ago, 60 millimeter, to my embarrassment. But the good guys and the bad guys. I enjoyed George Kennedy and the Colorado, or rather New Mexico scenery. That was nice. I'm
sure people find that very hard to believe that you could get into the movies, which is difficult enough, and then not go see yourself once you're in them. But I believe you. I know you're glad to know that.
I mean, you know, maybe I'll spend just take a year off and just sit there and witness myself. For it's a little late, but
let's take a look at that clip. It's from Night at the Hunter. Did you mind seeing that?
It's a little embarrassing.
Is it?
I think so. It was to me, yeah.
It's a little embarrassing for you to watch that?
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by that. Why?
I don't know why. It's just, I found it embarrassing.
A man looking at himself on a screen seems silly.
It is kind of, you know.
Spencer Tracy said once in some quote that it's no profession for a man acting. I don't know what mood he was in when he said that or why, but it's interesting.
Well, I guess that's about the only way he could phrase it or attempt to phrase it. One feels that way, you know. You figure you should be out building a bridge or digging a ditch, you know, or jacking up a tire or something, you know, stealing a car or something. Not making faces, you know, getting all painted up and making faces, you know.
Do you care if your kids go in the
pretending to be someone else? Man, you know, as long as they stay off the streets, I don't care what they do.
Have you ever... It's such a rough life, they say, to be a star and to go through all the junk you have to go through and all. Have you ever felt close to any kind of crack-up?
All the time. Every morning, man.
Are you putting me on now?
Yeah, a little bit. Oh. No. No, I don't think so.
I wondered if
I probably have been, you know, and I probably, some of my my more spectacular deportment is due to just nerves, you know.
Nerves?
Yeah.
Do you disparage psychoanalysis or psychiatry? Have you ever encountered it?
No, but it's like you got to save it up. It's like going to the barber shop, you know. You're wasting a lot of time sitting there, man. A lot of things are happening, you know. Yeah. And you got to park your car, go in, lie down on the couch, you know, whatever. You know, I can't hack that.
You'd rather do something new than talk about something old.
Yeah, I would just like to keep fooling around. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that, you know, if people feel that they need something. I mean, I went to a psychoanalyst one time, and he said, I don't understand why you're here. And I said, I don't either. And he said, well, why are you here? And I said, my family sent me. And he said, why? And I said, because they felt that no normal person acts as I do. And he said, you haven't even asked me what my fee is. I said, I don't care. He said, what do you mean you don't care? I said, well, there's only so much to go around, you know. Mm-hmm. And I handle my family's case, so if they run short, I said, I left it at the shrinkers. You know? So he said, but you know what your problems are. I mean, really, you know, and I mean, you can recall. I mean, I really do have, you know, almost total recall. Yeah. And he said, you know what your hang-ups are, what your problems are. He said, you don't need anybody to tell you. You don't need any, you know, any path out. And I said, that's right. He said, well, drop by again from time to time. He said, I'd like to talk to you, but...
It made him feel good, probably.
Yeah.
Gee, that's good. We have a message. We'll be right back. We're just talking about... What if you say, if someone says to you, you've got 2 weeks off now to go and relax the way you enjoy it most, how would you do that?
Depends on the weather.
Yeah.
Really. I think I'm going down to the Bahamas and then going down to another quiet, well-hidden little island, a little free port down in the Caribbean.
After 100 or so movies, is there any place you can go and people say, name please, when they look in your face?
Oh, yeah, sure.
It's amazing. I think everyone would know it.
When I walked in here.
Our doorman is a little nearsighted. I think that's probably... I read a thing that a woman columnist wrote about you one time, and she said Mitchum was born the kind of man that does not have to seek women because they come to him.
Were that true?
That's not true?
Well, they come to me with their troubles, you know.
Yeah. Is there... And do they leave with them? I don't know what I mean by that. I don't expect...
No.
No idea.
I absorb some of them. You know, you can cheer them up a little. No, as a matter of fact, I got married really when I was about 16. So I've been married all my life. And before that, I just didn't know, you know. And my wife rather frowns on any dalliance with anyone else. So
A lot of women do that, don't they?
yeah. Hey, listen, I got a... you know, in the morning of the earthquake, in various areas of town, of course, it affected various places differently. But my brother went to work, I think, last week before last, on Ironside. So he's sitting in the makeup chair, and this guy's painting his head. And he said, earthquake bother you? And Jack said, no, not really. He said, scared the bejesus out of me. But he said, I looked around, he said, there were no cracks, and, you know, everything seemed to be all right. He said, we've got dirty brown water. And the guy said, oh, yeah, well, we all have that out in this end of the valley. And the guy said, man, he said, I really tore it. He said, what do you mean? He said, well, I came home from a, quote, union meeting, quote, bowling, quote, you know, anything, came falling in at 3 o'clock in the morning or something, and fell heavily on my bed of pain. And he said, I woke up, and out where I live, he said, everything was happening, man. He said, I thought it was Armageddon. He said, I thought it was the Lord's own justice on me, you know. And I thought it was the end of the world, really. And he said, I reached over and clutched my wife, and he said, we just stared at each other like that while the whole thing spun around, and you could hear it rumbling and roaring and things breaking. And he said, I really thought this was it. You know, an earthquake was the furthest thing from my mind, just repentance, you know, because I had a shocking hangover. And so he said, honey, he said, he said, I've got to tell you before I go. He said, I've been fooling around with your sister. She said, about 7 o'clock. She said, what? And he said, those aftershocks didn't bother me at all, man. He said, I was praying for a big one. True. How about that for a cop-out?
There's... that reminds me of something, I guess. I've never been in an earthquake, but it would be enough to make a man religious. Are you so?
Religious?
Yeah.
Not formally, no. No.
It's odd for a man who has written poetry to not have some sense of eternity, or... maybe it isn't. Maybe it's quite ordinary. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I don't know. I know.
I'm willing to reject the question.
You should, you know, quit turning me on and then turning me off again, because
Okay. You're part Indian.
Yeah.
Blackfoot.
Yeah.
Do you ever wonder about your ancestors? I wonder if they were any of the ones that were massacred in
No.
Montana?
Matter of fact, my Indian people came from South Carolina. And there's, I mean, I have seen it written that there's a great mystery, you know, about the presence of the Blackfoot Indian in South Carolina. And first of all, they were not nomadic, but they were sort of the scout tribe. They were, you know, it is said, I don't know, it's a popular old wives' tale that the United States Supreme Court was modeled on the Blackfoot Tribal Council. But they knew what the weather conditions were and what grass conditions were all around the country, you know. General, you know, conditions were all over the country. They were the first horse Indians, actually. And they brought the horses up from Mexico. They heard about these fabulous creatures, and they just sent people down there to bring them up. Anyway, I would think that, you know, partially due to their proclivity for peregrination, and possibly due to the return of the Lewis and Clark expedition, that they might have brought back a few squaws, you know, just to keep it even. But I remember my father was Indian on both sides of his family. I had a great-grandmother, or grandmother, named Alice Pat. I mean, that was it. Flat out, that was her name.
Alice what?
Alice Pat.
That was all her whole name?
That's it. Make it easy on yourself. Alice Pat. What's your grandmother's name? Alice Pat. What's her last name? What?
We have to take a brief
Tomahawk.
message. We'll be right back. We have no time left. This time has flown by.
I'm
I find you
sorry.
one of the most easy men to talk to I've ever met in my life, and it's a great pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come again sometime.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What's the name? See you tomorrow night.